University of New Hampshire's College of Professional Studies may be the new best online college from New Hampshire, which would be huge because SNHU, Southern New Hampshire University, has 150,000 students. Is it possible to get high reputation at a low cost from a teeny tiny little 1,500 student program? Well, if you ask University of New Hampshire's College of Professional Studies, the answer may be yes. And this little program may be the right school for you. To find out today, we're going to grade them in 4 categories, give them a GPA, and see if they can get at least a 3.0, which in my opinion means that they are a school worth considering. For non-residents of New Hampshire, UNH's College of Professional Studies, or CPS, or we're just going to call them UNH, costs $379 per credit hour. The average online college costs about $400 per credit hour, and UNH does say that you'll probably have to spend like $192 in fees per school year, and they also admit that you have to cover your own textbooks, which they think is going to cost $900, but if you're playing it smart and you're shopping used or renting textbooks, there's no way you're going to spend that much. So we're looking at right around $50,000 if you go there for all 4 years of school, but we know that college hackers, the people who watch this channel, don't go anywhere for 4 years. We look at ways to transfer in alternative credit from third-party sources to replace the long, expensive classes that everyone expects us to take. So someone who uses the methods of this channel could end up spending under $15,000 to go to UNH. Oh, and if you live in New Hampshire, it only costs like $314 to go, which means you'll only spend like $12,000. I'm always so jealous of the people who live in the same states as these really cool colleges, and a lot of these cool colleges seem for some reason to be in the Northeast, like the New England area. It's just not fair that everybody else lives everywhere else. But even still, that's a great cost for the rest of us non-New Hampshireans, and so we're going to go ahead and give UNH a B for cost. Now, let's talk transfer friendliness, because a lot of our adult viewers of this channel have college credit from a previous attempt or from community college, and they need to find a school where they can actually get that credit applied and used so they don't have to take the same classes over again. And I've got some good news. UNH policy allows you to transfer in up to 75% of your degree, though due to another weird policy, the max you'll probably ever apply is more like 73%. We'll talk more about that in a second. But even still, 73% is pretty awesome. That basically means that almost 90 of the 120 credits that they require you to take at the school, you can pull in from somewhere else. And they're actually pretty flexible about where you pull it in from, whether that's from another university or from a lot of different community colleges or from college hacking credits like CLEP exams or Sophia third-party courses, Study.com third-party courses, and Sailor and Straighterline and all the rest of them. Plus, they have an internal process for assessing work experience of yours to see if they can maybe give you college credit for that. They attach it to a class, so you have to take this class, which can just go into free electives, which is no problem, and then you have to pay a little bit extra to get the portfolio that you create in that class assessed, and then the hope is from there you'll be able to get college credit just straight from the school for what you've done. Now, that's probably going to be more helpful if you've been in the workforce for a long time, have certifications, military experience, some kind of really impressive stuff that you've done, less helpful for people in their 20s. So overall, they're very transfer friendly, and they're very willing to take people with a ton of transfer credits. Even if you're only going to be taking classes with them for a year, they still want to meet you where you're at. They're still willing to help you, and for that, we're going to give them an A. The first thing to consider with degree choice is what degrees are available. And UNH, I'm happy to say, actually bats above their weight class. They hit above their weight class. You can tell somebody doesn't watch baseball or wrestling or boxing or basically any sport where people are hitting each other. But anyway, despite being a small school, they have 27 different majors to choose from and a lot of different specializations for many of those majors. They've got these really cool bachelor's completion degrees where if you come in with an associate's, they'll basically work with you to make it the most hassle-free, way to finish your bachelor's degree from an associate's. They've got a lot of applied psychology. If you want to do applied psychology, this is probably a really great school for you to choose. Business management, computer information technology with a bunch of different specializations there, including data analytics, which is a really hot one, criminal justice. We've got English language arts, health and wellness, healthcare management, historical studies, human services. Man, the interacting with people in a business environment. Between human services and applied psychology, they have it all. We've got their Chipotle degree, individualized studies, but you can choose a bunch of different specializations. There's math, there's nursing, RN to BSN, bachelor's completion, professional communication, public administration, and one that I thought was especially cool, technology management. You combine the ideas of business and the ideas of working in the tech sphere. And especially as AI is coming, this kind of prepares people to go into some sort of management position maybe, which I think is pretty cool. So basically, they're going to have what like 99% of online students want. As for flexibility, my chief academic advisor, Dr. Lauren Daly, and I went ahead and did like a practice hacking of one of their business degrees. Now, business degrees are generally one of the more hackable ones, so expect other degrees to maybe be a little bit less hackable, except for their Chipotle one, which should be just about perfectly hackable. And if you don't know what I mean by hacking, I'm basically just talking about how many third-party credits we can bring in to replace courses so we can get as close as possible to graduating for under $15,000 and in under like a year, maybe 18 months if you're going a little bit slow. And in this case, we were able to hack 73% of a business degree. The reason we only got to 73% instead of 75% is that UNH actually operates on a 4 credit per class system. So most schools have 3 credit classes, but UNH does 4, which means instead of taking 40 classes, you only have to take 30 classes. But it also means that instead of being able to whittle down the classes you have to take with UNH to exactly 30 credits, we could only do it to 32. And so you will have to take an extra 2 credits compared to going to SNHU or Liberty. And that's not a terrible thing. Remember, that's still, with the way they do things, only like 8 classes you have to take. Though 2 of their classes in their business degree are actually 2 credits, so it's technically 9 classes, but still. And the average UNH degree seems to have like a 28 credit free elective section. I would say that's a slightly above average size for free electives, which means you're transferring in more credits from previous school attempts and maybe being able to take a lot of Sophia classes to, save a bunch of time. So lots of degrees to choose from and pretty decent hacking flexibility. I'm going to give them a very strong B. And now it's time to talk about the almighty student experience. Do UNH CPS students actually like going there? Well, a little bit hard to tell because there are so few students. There are not a lot of reviews out there. In fact, we couldn't really find any that weren't reviews from residential UNH students, which means in general that they're just going to be more complaining about campus life. So yes, their niche.com rating is 3.7 out of 5 stars, whereas a lot of the schools that we look at for online are kind of in the mid 4s. But in this case, I wouldn't really pay attention to that, and I would base your judgment of what kind of an experience you'll have on your interaction with admissions counselors and advisors. And here is something that UNH CPS does really, really well. They assign an individual advisor for every single student who comes to their online program who sticks with you through your entire time there. Now, that's not to say somebody won't get a new job or retire or move on, but you have like an advocate, a person who has your back and is there with you along the way, which is awesome and just blows some of the bad customer service that we see in a lot of online colleges out of the water. Apart from that, you should know that the CPS portion of UNH, the College of Professional Studies, used to be Granite State College, but in New Hampshire kind of like stuck these schools together and basically told UNH, hey, look, Granite State College is now your online program. Give them what they need. And this only happened back in 2023, but it's a really big deal for people going to CPS because it means that their school's name is being attached to an R1 research school. There are only 146 of these in the country, and basically what that means is that UNH is operating at the highest level of quality of research. They are being, given a ton of grants, and the government is assigning them to do research, and maybe companies are hiring them to do research, but they are like the researchers. And as far as college goes, like that is the gold standard. Technically, Purdue University Global is also attached to an R1 research school, but Purdue University Global, it has a few other problems with its reputation that make them less associated. In this case, if you're just graduating from UNH, that is kind of a big deal. That's something you can brag about. Now, they accept 100% of applicants, so not difficult to get in, but it also means that their graduation rates are likely going to be low. In fact, that the numbers that I found for Granite State College were actually, kind of low, not great, which might mean that when you accept everybody, but you have, if this is the case, really high academic standards, maybe those two things don't fit super well. But I'm going to hold off on giving any kind of actual graduation numbers until we see a little bit more of a timeline for how this program operates now that they're part of UNH and see how that shifts things. Now, they've got a really high level of accreditation, and technically they count a class as full when it hits 25 students, but because they're small right now, they actually have an average class size of about 15 students, which means more attention from professors. And in this case, their adjunct instructors are actually compensated pretty fairly, which is good. So, you're hoping you're getting more attention from them for that reason as well. And they don't have any significant bad press or scandals from the past, which is something that we've kind of become used to with online colleges. Oh, and here's like the big kicker. According to U.S. News Ranking and Reports, which they do a ton of data analysis of colleges all across the country, they have ranked UNH's online programs as number 57th for best online bachelor's program, which is a big deal. To be in the top 100, much more the top 60, that is really impressive, which means that educationally, they're doing something really well here. I'm sure they've got some great faculty. It sounds like they have a great student experience. Now, we just have to see what they do now that they're attached to UNH. Oh, and they're number 39 best for online veterans bachelor's degree programs. All of that being said, partially because we're still waiting to find out more about them, and I'm very curious to see if that graduation rate gets any better, we're going to go ahead and give them a B for student experience. On a personal note, I've been looking high and low for new hackable colleges. I feel like I talk about UMPI and WGU until I'm blue in the face, right? And I've been waiting for a school to stand up and say, hey, we will help students out too. And I think that UNH's CPS program has the most potential of any new school I've seen in the past 2 years. I know a lot of people talk about Texas A&M, their commerce program, and I think that has potential, but they have too few programs, and there's like some extra levels of confusion there that just aren't worth getting into in some cases. Columbia Southern University, I think as a for-profit, has been really, really cool, but when you take some of the affordability of that and the transfer friendliness of some of these other schools we talk about, and you combine it with an R1 designation for such a reasonable price, I mean, that is really, really cool. At this point, I would say that UNH is probably the most prestigious hackable school that we have talked about in probably since we began. So for that reason, I'm very happy to give them a 3.25 GPA, and I think that you're going to hear us talking about them a whole lot more. So thanks for watching, and happy hacking.